could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn a part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted. You know, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. Hopes and dreams, every boy. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. No technical difficulty at all. Just I guess I'm a little early. Oh, you got sound. Tell me you got sound. I'm sure you have sound. Okay. So, start off with the weather. It's about 79 degrees. The weather has been pretty nice the last few days. Last week was kind of hell on wheels. Let's see. Today we're supposed to have a high 81, low of 66. Last week I made this off the cuff prediction because we're supposed to get a little rain in the afternoon, so that usually comes with a temperature drop. And oh boy, was I wrong. The rain never came and the temperature shot up to all-time high 87, 88 degrees or something. It's never like that. So, yeah, that kind of sucked. So I guess that's my trial as a weather, what do you call them? Whether or not I ever do the weather. Okay. Pesos. 38.94. Well, it's 38.93.9 or something like that. Still hovering around that area. And last week I did a show about nothing, and I did no news. This week it's all news, wall-to-wall news, whatever that's worth. I want to mention, I've been getting a lot of requests lately for people wanting me to look up some information for them. And well, it's one thing that I'll do some research to cover a topic. I don't go into any depth on tax or legal, I leave that for other people. because it's probably going to be wrong. But I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I'm not your bitch. I'm not here to look up something that you could easily look up on your own. And it's getting kind of ridiculous. To do it for the channel, for a group of people, that's one thing. But when you email me and ask me to look up some simple thing that you could have looked up and in 30 seconds had your own answer, no, I'm not doing that. So, so there you go. I don't want to start off on a negative note, but I've been getting more and more of these. I mean, I get 6, 7, 8 a week, and it's out of hand. Where would be a good place for me to stay that's in the north? Well, look up on booking.com. I don't know, who's available and when. I don't keep all the registrations and okay, so you get the point. I put a thing up here, a poll. Let's see, it says I got 20 votes so far. Should we keep the shadow box comments on the screen? That's whoops. Yeah, where am I? Yeah, there. It's backwards. Right there, this thing. Because I had a couple comments saying, why don't you get rid of that thing? Well, I put it there because people kept asking me for it. It took me months, and I finally took the time to create it. It doesn't take that long, but I did it, and it's been there for a while now. And the reason was everybody's not on their phone, or sometimes people watch on TV, and on TV they don't see the chat. Now, I advise, if you're watching on TV, to keep it also on your phone. That way you can actually participate. But, I say, okay, well, all right, I'll do it. And then I had a couple people, like saying, what do you do that for? It's dumb, get it off there. It blocks things. Well, it doesn't really block things, because when I put things up, I keep that in mind. I kind of work around it. For example, if I put a headline up, you see the shadow box, it's not covered. So that's the reason for the poll. Just kind of curious. I also got not just in live chat, but I got a couple emails asking me again about car. Why are you renting a car? Why don't you just buy a car? Well, it's real simple. I had money saved for a car. I squandered it with some bad decisions. I talked about that. Don't really want to keep going into it. If you missed the explanation, it doesn't matter. I shrined it in a video. It's out there. But yeah, I definitely want to do it. And I've been chipping away at it, and in a place that's not very accessible. And so I looked in that account this week. When are you going to get a car? I got another one of those emails, and I looked, and this may sound pathetic to you. It's been a couple of years, but I'm up to about 9 million pesos, which means I'm just probably 11, 12 million pesos shy. So I'm almost halfway. So that means maybe in a couple more years, I'll have enough to buy a car cash. So there's that. Also was asked, and this comes up actually probably a couple times a month, because I'm a fan of Afro Wahira's videos, and because they're very raw and they're very real, and I appreciate that, because you don't get to see a lot of that. And why don't you collab? Now that she's traveling around the country, why don't you interview? And we'll talk about interviews too. Well, just so you know, so you can quit asking, I've reached out to her several times about doing an online interview, and she never responds. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me. It's just that I was asked, I tried again. I'm not going to keep, trying. it's not, it's, it's not all that important. But just to respond. And also interview, and I'll get to all the messages here in a moment. Just to respond on the interviews. I asked last week for some suggestions, this and that, and I got some replies. And two of them said, you really should do more interviews. The talking head's great, you're up there, but you're kind of boring. Don't disagree. Why don't you do an interview once in a while? Well, I do, and I try, and I've talked about this. I swear it was like 3 weeks ago. I dedicated a fair amount of time asking you, explaining the situation, asking you, please, if you're the least bit interested, you can do it online. You can do it from where you're sitting, and do an interview or conversation or whatever. Zero response, and that's the way it always is. And when I ask people about interviews, I rarely get an okay. Now, having said that, I've got a bunch of interviews on the channel, and something that I had to go back and look at this, but this was a short time, kind of tongue-in-cheek. Robert penned this, I don't know, wrestling introduction or whatever it was. But I used some clips on the screen of different people I've had on the channel in the past. And let me show you, remind you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Coffee Time Live with your host, Lauren Lau, live from Armenia, Colombia. And now, here's Lauren.
And there's been dozens and dozens of them. I actually have a playlist called Interviews on the channel, and you can go there and you can see all kinds of different interviews for different things. However, it's like pulling teeth. Nobody wants to do it. And, a lot of times people say, well, I don't want people to know that I'm here. I don't want them to see who I am. I hate being in front of a camera. Welcome to the club. So do I. All kinds of reasons, and they're reasons, and they shouldn't have to if they don't want to. I get it, but I keep getting asked, and I keep explaining, and I don't know. It's like when they're available, I'll do it. All right, let's see. What do we got here? We've got Juka. Thank you very much. Jerry, thank you very much. One day we'll get that car. Yuka, greetings from Finland. How you doing? Speaking of Finland ranked world's happiest country for the 7th year. Is that true? Yuka, is that true? Well, it must be true. There's somebody out there that made a ranking. You have to laugh at some of the things that, they come up. Sometimes some have been out there forever, and this is one of them. But a lot of these lists that come up, they're only doing it because they don't have anything else to write about. And they make these very based on nothing, weak lists of one thing or another. Anyway, but the happiness thing has been out there for quite a while. Rob, good morning. 411 days. You poor man. Michael, how you doing? Good morning. Turtle, good morning. Good morning. He called me this morning about Mercado Libre. Good outfit, my experience. Good morning from Coral Springs, Florida. How you doing, Carlos? Mr. Mike Jarvis, time to do another steak. How you doing? Abel, good morning. My dear land, who saw my eyes open, Colombia. I don't know what that is. Among Colombia. Eagle, good morning. Happy Sunday from Dallas, Texas. How you doing? No sound. Sounds good. Yep. Ben, good morning. Renee, how you doing from Belgium? Glad you're here. See you most every week. I appreciate it. Robert, buenas from Austin, Texas. William, good morning. How you doing? William, I'm curious to know if you've tried that coffee from Buena Vista that I was talking about in the purple bag. Sound good? Donald the Explorer, good morning from Riocha, La Guajira, sitting on the pier looking out over the Caribbean coast. How hot is it? And if you're out on a pier, probably no mosquitoes. Russia, 911. You know, it's funny. Last week, I put up those little clips where I was driving and I was kind of singing along with some songs. And of course, YouTube picked up on that, and I knew it. You know, I'm already demonetized for a couple of years now, so what's the big deal, right? Well, there's something new. I got this yellow triangle, like wet floors kind of thing, with an exclamation mark, and it says that my video is banned from Russia. I don't know. Apparently Russia doesn't like that music or something. I don't know. Morning from Panama. How you doing? Yes, you should keep it. Colombia? I keep what? Oh, the box. Gotcha. Sebastian, hello from Lake Michigan. What are you doing up there? You belong here. Get motorcycle. No. Aside from, well, between cities, it's not bad. And I could do that. And with that 9 million, I could just go get one. I would have to upgrade my driver's license. That would be another 1 million pesos in about a month. But yeah, I could do that. However, when I go out of town, I don't go alone. And that means I would have to get a more expensive motorcycle because the regular cheap motorcycles, they're not really good for two people. So I have to get a more expensive one because it's not like just kind of zipping around town. If you're going to be riding for an hour or so, they can't be totally miserable back there. And the configuration on these cheap ones, it would be so uncomfortable. So you've got to have something a little more space, a little better seat. Foot peg placement is really important because you don't bring somebody along to help you out and then torture them the whole way. Or at least I prefer to avoid that if possible, unless there's blindfolds involved. So, but the big thing is, in case you hadn't noticed, it rains a lot here. And traveling around and having a little bit of equipment, although it doesn't have to be that much, but a little bit of equipment, it's not very practical. I've been tempted. I've been back and forth on this a lot, but so far, I'm trying to hold on for a car. Plus, sometimes people come in from the airport and they got some luggage and they want me to pick them up and maybe show them around and stuff like that. And that's not going to happen on a motorbike. So, all right, Francisco, good morning from Upper Darby, PA. How you doing? Girdle, a really big deal. Jerry just retired, close to the move south. Yuka, the ranking is true. Yes, 7th. Well, total BS anyway. 7th year. It says they're number 1. Finland's number 1. Hey, it's been a while since I've been here. Wanted to ask you if you made it to Tom's restaurant. No, people can't decide whether he's in business or not. I, and every time I would go, he was in the U.S. for one reason or another. He was back and forth for a while. No, never made it. You know, I could. I lose track of what's going on. Good morning from Arkansas. Good morning, Craig. William, yes, I've tried San Alberto coffee. It's very good. However, I lack the sophisticated palate to fully appreciate the brew. You and me both. I've been trying to figure out what makes that coffee better than, for example, my favorite coffee. And I've tried them side by side. I tried in a mocha pot with a coarser grind. I've tried espresso. I'm not getting it. I'm not there, but I'm going to work at it. I'm going to figure it. Like, I want to do a cupping, and I would love to do a cupping with maybe some people that are living here. And what I would like to do is I've got a fermented coffee that I bought that I think is quite good, although it's a little on the sour side, so I could see where, you know, you probably either love it or hate it. I kind of enjoy it. And I actually kind of like it just the way it is. You know, I don't really need anything with it. And then there's my coffee. It's my favorite coffee, and I can drink that anyway. And then I've got this one, which it seems very much like my coffee. So I would like to have a situation where, like the professionals do it, where, you know, I put the grinds and without labels. I put a number, and of course, you know, we'll figure it out. So it's like, we don't know. And then, you know, try, and you can only try comparing to another one, but I'd like to try those three and see what other people think about those. I even thought about maybe taking those three to one of the local coffee shops and just pay them a little extra. I mean, I'm sure like $5 would do it to set up a cupping for me, and maybe invite a couple people there and try it. I'm very curious because it's funny you say that. Just this morning, I had another mocha pot version of it, trying to figure out why did this win last year best coffee in the world. And don't get me wrong, it's not that it's bad. I swear there's no bad coffee here. They're all the best coffee. It's just I don't know. And you know, I found another clip, an interview when I was in Cuenca of a cafe. I'm going to put that up on the coffee channel. That was pretty interesting to go back and look at it, because it was maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was quite a while ago. No, it had to be longer than that, maybe 7 years ago. And he was talking about how they grow coffee in Ecuador, and it's so different. And they roast it, they burn it, they cook the hell out of it. And he was talking about how he tries to overcome that. And he was trying to export to the US, but he says it's so difficult to get the farmers in Ecuador to pick and process the coffee beans the way they should be. And here it's all they know. Anyway, Eagle Italian said, when you buy motorcycle, buy funeral casket is cheaper. Yeah, maybe. Sebastian, how was the Wednesday coffee meeting? It was pretty good, but I was a little annoyed. I went to Cafe Candio. I actually made friends with the vice president of that company, like in all of Colombia, and I interviewed him, as a matter of fact. And a great interview. So they remodeled. So I go in there. They were closed a long time. They're remodeling. It doesn't seem to be that much different, but it's nice. It's always nice. And we pulled a couple tables together, and the guy comes running over, and he's like, scolding us that we can't do that. And I'm thinking, fuck you, buddy. I mean, pardon. I was a little annoyed. So he directed us to another table. And if one more person had shown up, we would have had to still put another table together. I don't know what that was about. It was, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Or maybe I was just in a bad mood because a bank has lost a big chunk of money and they're promising it back, and I'm waiting. But anyway, I love Ethiopian coffee. Well, in some ways, they all are. That's where coffee originally came from. But it's all about where it's grown, the altitude it's grown, the right amount of rainfall. That's why Colombia, for many people, is considered to be the best coffee in the world. Because where the beans may be basically the same beans as in Ethiopia, the growing and the processing that takes place in Colombia it's not totally unique, but it's somewhat unique. Yeah, I used to think Hawaiian coffee was my favorite, but before I came down here, I came to the conclusion that it's just hard to find bad Colombian coffee. Let's see, try Bastija coffee, sour taste from the mountains here in Armenia, around perimeter of Pereira. Okay. All right, so let's see. We cut through the comments, at least to this point. And where was I? Oh, another thing. Why don't you put something a little exciting on your channel once in a while? So I'm going to put this up, and I'll run it for about a minute. Tell me if you think this kind of fits the bill, because another person had said 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, that salsa is dead in Colombia. It's not true. It definitely is retrenched, but there's pockets of it.
A Brujo el Bravo le dice, lo dejaron tirado, como efecto de los golpes, camina cachondeado. Antes rotaba de maco, pero ahora mismo está recogiendo galletazos por todita la ciudad y camina de lado. Como que te cachondea, vagabundo, como que te cachondea, cachondea, como que te cachondea, vagabundo, como que te cachondea, como que me cachondea, como que te va de lado.
Man, I get tired just watching that. That clip goes on for like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know how she doesn't drop from exhaustion. But yeah, if you anytime you want to see that, just type dancer in the chat. Of course, I won't do it back to back, but every once in a while, I can throw that up. Let's see. One more thing, and then we'll get to the news. I got some interesting news, actually. But this is a girl that I've known here for a couple years, and she's posted up on the Adventure in Grand Columbia Facebook page. She lost her job. She's really in a hurt. She's bilingual. She's extremely trustworthy. She'll be a guide. She'll clean your house. She'll be a personal assistant. She'll do whatever she needs to do. She needs to make some money. She's a sweetheart. She is in the Facebook Adventure in Grand Columbia. I would hire her, but I can't afford to hire her. But her WhatsApp number is in there. If you need anything, excuse me, send her off a message and she can help you out. People say, do you know anybody who can go to the doctor with me? Well, she's pretty good. Her bilingual abilities are quite good. Rob, 411 days until dancing with that girl. I don't know. It's like she's pretty dedicated to me, Okay. All right. So this week is a huge week. As a matter of fact, you'd have to go back to Christmas time to have as important in Armenia. Yes, she's in Armenia. As important a time as it is this week. Schedule yourself and enjoy the activities that Armenia has for this Holy Week. There's a ton of things going on. There's processions by thousands of people will be going different barrios. There's day, there's night. But the interesting thing about Holy Week, which is they don't just do Easter. They don't just do Easter and Good Friday. And they don't just do Easter, Good Friday, and Ash Wednesday. It begins tomorrow. And it goes on every day. Saturday, there's stuff. It's like, at one time, this was a 98% Catholic country, and the government was based on Catholicism. Now, that changed some years ago. When I lived here before, it was like that. But between then and now, it certainly changed. And the Catholic religion, it's about 60-some% of the population, supposedly. But it's a big thing. Oh, I should point out, let me move my head. Somebody gave me that as a present with the Grand Columbia on the hat. Although the hat, it's an older picture because it's a hat that looks like the Ecuador hat, and the glasses look like the glasses I used to have when I did the Ecuador videos. But T-shirt is definitely right. Anyway, I guess I have to move it. I put it up on the wall. It looked like there was an empty space. Now I know what that empty space was for. It's for my fat head. So maybe I can put it over here or something. All right. So big week, big Easter week. Don't be surprised if you're living here, you're visiting here. You'll have interruptions with traffic, or banks will be closed on certain days and you don't know why. You just have to kind of roll with it, go with the flow, enjoy the week. All right, next. Oh, this is a real issue. If you're living here, you probably never noticed it because few of us actually take the bus, because the taxis, for $1.25, just about anywhere you want to go. However, the buses are critical here and is a huge problem. It's been going on for about a year. Well, after COVID, there's a lack of bus drivers in Armenia. 35% of the fleet is stopped. What is happening? They can't get bus drivers. They've actually had to close down and consolidate routes because of this problem. It's a huge problem. It's affecting a lot of people, particularly in the South. And if people have jobs, say, in the North, and they live in the South, before they walk a block or two and to get on the bus, now they're 4, 5, 6 blocks they have to walk, sometimes in the rain, in order to catch that bus. And then when they get there for the bus, because there's fewer buses, they might have to wait 20, 25 minutes for the next bus to come around. So it's a real problem. If you're a bus driver, maybe you can get a job. Well, if you're retired, you can't work, but you can volunteer. Okay, next one. In the first 15 days in March, a rainfall deficit of 15 to 96% was recorded, depending on where, of course, because this is microclimate heaven. Everything, 200 yards from here, we have a different climate. We've been short rainfall. However, it's also been the dry season. We're coming out of it. So you take a combination of the dry season and you throw El Nino in there, you run up the temperatures and everything dries. We are now, April and May are, in other times in the year, but April and May are particularly good rainfall, like heavier rainfall. And you think, well, I don't like rain. No, you got to love rain here, because when the rain's here, it's not like you're going out and getting rained on unless you go out in the afternoon. In the mornings, you're pretty good generally. Sometimes in the afternoon, most rain seems to hit late afternoon or in the evening. It keeps everything green. You know, you got to love it. You get used to that rhythm. But so we're coming into the rainy season. It rained yesterday, rained the day before. Could use more, but you know, I'm appreciative of it. But a lot of people were panicked because people keep forgetting that we're in an El Nino. People here, local people, they keep panicking because they keep hearing all this climate change stuff. And yeah, there's climate change, but that's what's occurring, has occurred before and will occur again. This is a routine thing that comes and goes. I've been through a couple, and it's how it is. So don't panic over it. Just understand what it is. And when you take the dry season and then you add an El Nino, then you're going to get an extra effect. The good side is El Nino continues to be easing up. So we're getting like a couple hard days of it, and then it kind of goes back to normal, and then we'll get another bad day of it and kind of go back to normal. So that's pretty good. It was just a month or so ago when we're getting every single day. Okay, next news item. Unicentro Mall. If you know Armenia, you know this place. Very popular place. It's near Centro. And if you look on the roof, well, it says Unicentro Armenia leads the way towards energy sustainability with solar solutions. And let's see. Here's another picture of the roof with all those solar panels. There's that's a big building. And so these things don't look very big. They look like computer memory chips, but they're massive. Maybe you could see the door and see the size of it. One little tiny segment of that is the size of a doorway. So that would be the equivalent of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 story building. That one would be a 14-story building. Yeah, they're big. That's the point. They're big. I had a note here. What was it? Oh, they have cut their electricity by 40%. And they say that's the equivalent amount of electricity that 100 families use. So, okay, that's cool. I'm good for it. Robert, what do we got here? Cali has the only hotel in the world totally accessible for shell chairs. Who would have thought? What's a shell chair? I don't know what a shell chair is. I guess I must live a sheltered life. Okay. Wheelchair. Every place is wheelchair accessible. Huh? Only hotel in the world totally accessible. One more try. You get one more try. I got the picture. Wheelchair. Gotcha. All right, let me get on to the next news story. I'm kind of curious why. What am I missing there? But okay. Next story. This is Easter week. They prohibit the informal sale of fish during Holy Week and indicate measures for food safety. What would I give up? I gotcha. Okay, what would typically happen during Holy Week is all of a sudden people would have trunk loads of fish and sell it because, you know, it's Holy Week and, you know, it's a week for fish apparently. I remember Fish Fry Fridays, but, you know, I'm sure it's other things here. They kind of go overboard with it. But the getting fish out of the trunk of a car, probably not a very good idea. Probably had a lot of food poisoning problems. I don't know. I would never have considered it. Flash frozen is fine, particularly when you're in the Andes Mountain. Getting something fresh from the coast, even that's debatable, because I would almost need to personally know that they're actually keeping it on ice and, you know, being good stewards of it. I don't know. I wouldn't trust that. So flash frozen is fine, but it's nice to see, you know, that they'll crack down on things that kind of make sense. Like, okay, you can't sell fish out of the trunk of your car anymore. Cool. Italy returns to Colombia 25 great pre-Columbian archaeological treasures. I read the article. The article was kind of interesting, but I don't really want to. They say these are priceless, and does that mean they're not worth anything? Are they worth everything? I don't know, but apparently they're very important, and I don't know what Italy's doing with them, but well, they aren't anymore. They've returned them. Okay, and this is a big one. This is the big one. What time is it? Okay, we're doing good. Robert, do that sometimes. It's funny at your expense. Okay. Volcano. Yesterday we had an alert on the volcano that's near us. Authorities on alert after increase in seismic activity. Now, they say that you can actually hear grinding rocks, and the last time they could hear that was a couple years ago. Now, on the other hand, this volcano has not erupted in almost 900 years. I don't know if that means it's overdue, but this came up few times recently. What would happen to Armenia if that would go off, and would Armenia be covered in lava? Well, let's take a look at the map. The red arrow points to that volcano, and all the way on your left is Armenia, and all the way to the right underneath the shadow box is Ibagué. And, you know, it's, even with the tunnels and stuff, it's 2-3 hours to travel from Armenia to Ibagué. It's not terribly close in miles. I don't know, maybe 16, 17 miles, something like that. But here is the important thing. Let me look at another. Is it dormant? Well, it's active underground. There's no steam or smoke that comes off it, but it's active underground. They know that this volcano is going to blow at some point. They just don't know when. And it rumbles. We never feel them here, but it has a lot of little earthquakes in that area. Like they said, on that particular day, there were over 100 earthquakes. And not 100 earthquakes that, you know, buildings are coming down, but you could, you know, seismographs are measuring them. In other words, indicating a lot of activity. And you could, like the article said, you could hear the crushing, the grinding of rocks, which has happened before. But let's look at this map. All right, so same location. Armenia is all the way to the left, and Ibagué is under the shadow box. The arrow is pointing to where that volcano is. Now, take a look at those blue lines. Those blue lines represent a mountain ridges. So in other words, you go up a mountain, you kind of go down a little, and then you go up another mountain ridge, you go down a little bit. There's three very high, well, two of the three very high mountain ridges between us and that volcano. So lava flow, no, it's not going to happen. It's actually would be directed towards Ibagué. If I lived in Ibagué, I might be a little concerned. Or between Ibagué and the mountain. But here, no. Now, what we could get, depending on the wind, which generally doesn't go from there to here, but it could, is we could get ash. I'm sure we'd get some ash. And we could get, if it was a massive eruption, we could get some of those fiery stones. Of course, by the time it got to us, it probably wouldn't be so fiery, but they could be hot. And, you know, we could get some of those. But we're quite a ways away. Manizales is close to a volcano, closer to a volcano than we are to this one. And when that erupted, it wiped out a town. People build near volcanoes don't get it, but 25,000 people died in that area. But Manizales got just what I'm describing. You know, they got the fallout from it. A few little stones, you know, fell, but it wasn't really impacted. It would be similar to us. Bucaramanga, is that right? They have the best fresh fish. They're not near the ocean, so I can't imagine why they would have the best fresh fish. That wouldn't make sense. I would think Santa Marta, Cartagena. Eagle, is it dormant or active? Okay, yeah, I mentioned that. Here in Manizales, the Ruiz volcano, pretty quiet for now. Yeah, but that one smokes. That one smokes all the time. It's got a crater in the top. I mean, you can go up and, you know, climb up there, and if you're brave enough, you can kind of look down and you can see what's going on. The one we have is kind of different. Hi from Maine, 23 degrees and 8 inches of snow. Well, if it's 23 degrees Celsius, that's pretty nice. But I have a hunch it's Fahrenheit. Armero City was destroyed because of the volcano. Yeah. Yep. So don't build at the base of a volcano. But, you know, it's like your grandparents and your parents and you live your whole lives and these things don't go off. And, you know, so how do you know? You get complacent to it. But do I think we're in danger? I don't think so. I mean, anything's possible. You could have some rock that, you know, makes its way over here and wind conditions are just right and thing can come down through the roof of this building, I suppose. But, you know, I would probably have a somewhat similar chance of a meteorite doing the same thing. Okay, so that's all the news today. It was all news, all the time. And covered all the chat. Any questions, comments, whatever, before we wrap it up for the day? Let me look at the, all right, we got 37 votes. Well, it's pretty overwhelming to keep the shadow box. Okay, I'll keep the shadow box. That was something, if I moved to Rumble, that was one of the things that I would have lost. There's a few things that people like that I could not yet do on Rumble, although they are making some pretty good headway. Be interesting to see what goes on with Truth Social. I just heard this morning that it sold for $5 billion. No, it didn't sell. It went public. And Trump gets $3 billion of that. So I'm kind of interesting. And how that relates is where X is now allowing live streaming and videos and things like that. I wonder what's going to happen over there. I don't really know. I tried to look at it once and it wouldn't let me subscribe on Android. And I haven't gone, that was a long time ago. I'm not a big fan of social media. I have to be involved in it for this. And I'm already in. you know, I got an Instagram and I got a Facebook. I actually have several now because of the coffee. Got a couple YouTubes. I got a Rumble that covers 3 different channels, and I've got Odyssey, which I really like Odyssey. But that's, I mean, that should be enough, right? Do you have a realtor you refer people to when someone is looking for a rental in Armenia area? No. Yes and no. You know, I told you guys, don't ever go through a realtor. And then, for the sake of video, I went through a realtor. I'll talk about this in a future video. Probably won't be on a coffee time. I'll make a video. Turtle warned me about this, and by the time I made some moves to cover myself, it was too late. I would have had to pay out something like 6 million pesos to get out of here. Well, it's set for next time, but it locked me in for another year. What they do and how they set that up, I was completely unaware of. I'm aware of it now, and owners never do. I've never experienced anything like it. It's pretty sleazy. It's pretty devious. The thing is, it's not that I don't like living here. I actually like living here. I just overpaid, and I was trying to move to a place that, you know, I could save some money. This kind of stretches me out. It was for a purpose, and the purpose was over. I mean, it's nice here, so it's not like it's going to be bad living here for the next year. But everything that I've been told about real estate agents, I've found out it's that and more. I really don't recommend them. Plus, real estate agents are not really that. They're not licensed. They don't. You can just say, okay, IR real estate. There's a gringo here that does that. It's like IR real estate. Well, you're not. You're just taking listings and putting people in them and inflating a price to get a cut. You say, well, that is a real estate agent. Well, you know, kinda, but there's no protections or anything like that. The best way is still to deal with owners directly, to know where you want to live and walk that area and look for signs and go in and talk to the guards and ask them what's available. Do a little bit of legwork, and if you don't want to do it, hire a local. I do have people that are aware of certain things that come up. You'll see postings on Ventures in Grand Colombia every once in a while. Recently, there were a couple, but they were very high end. They're you know, for what they were, the prices were fine, but they were kind of expensive. Internet, not the best way to do it, although, you know, it doesn't hurt to look, but you're going to pay more, and very often those are going to end up with these agencies anyway. Yeah, it's still the best way is to get out and pound the pavement. What about, yeah, well, maybe you weren't listening. Which goes to another topic. You see all the time, and this was the same in Ecuador. You see it here. I still see it all the time on Facebook pages. Can you recommend me to a good doctor or a dentist or real estate or that speaks English? Well, that's absolutely no guarantee. And as a matter of fact, you run into the likelihood of people being involved in those business solely because they speak English, not because of skills that they have. It's not always true, but is a very high rate of that being true. It is maybe one of the worst criteria to make those choices. You can get around the language, but particularly gringos, I mean, sometimes they'll screw you quicker than anybody. Just be very careful about having a requirement of the English language. This isn't an English-speaking country, and the very best people, good chance they don't speak English. But there's so many ways around that. You know, pay somebody a few bucks to, you know, to go give Rose a call, hire her for the day, you know, and let her talk for you, whether it's at the doctor, whether you're looking at the owner of a property or whatever, to walk the neighborhoods with you or for you. I've had people, they're going to be coming down, and could you have, you know, somebody walk a neighborhood and, you know, see what they can find? Well, you know, so there's good ways around these things. I'm telling you, anybody that's saying they're an agent, calling themselves an agent, has an office. If my experience means anything, do not darken their doorstep. Do it the way that works. You're going to get a better price. Your contracts will be negotiable. So they use very simple every contract I've had. This agency, you know, it's an actual company, the Key. Their contract was like 25 pages long. Normally, a rental contract here is 2 pages. It's very simple. It's very basic. Because they don't have all of these games. Those 25 pages contain a lot of little games where they will nickel and dime you when you're trying to leave, and they can try to drag you past. There's a certain time where you have to notify, but if you're in process of arguing about certain things, then that doesn't count. And then when you notify, it's say, oh, you missed your deadline, and it's just don't do it. Real estate, they're a pain in the neck. When it's time to fix something, they take their time, but if you don't pay the rent, they're pretty good to demand. Yep. No real estate agency. Yes, Mike would know also. He's lived in a number of places here, and he's done very well for himself by staying clear. It's easy. It's easy to find a place. Now, it is difficult on any particular moment. Let's say you got a list of 10 things that are important to you. On any particular moment, you may not find something available that's got all 10. Maybe it's only got 6 or 7 of those things. And you don't want to wait around forever. So you go ahead and rent it. You get a year contract, and so you're there. You know, it may not be your dream place, but you're going to like it. You're going to enjoy it if you're careful about, you know, the location and stuff. And then what you'll find is maybe 2 months after you rented, that place that you were looking for, all of a sudden it came open. It's just how it goes. You know, get used to it. It's happened to me a number of times. I'm in my fourth place. I've always wanted to live in the Oreb, H-O-R-E-B, Oreb buildings. I've always wanted to live there. I came here the very next month, a place opened up. It's like, oh my God. There's a place right now open over there. But now I'm kind of locked in here for another year. Okay. Answered those questions. I see some people are getting bored. They're kind of fading away. So we're going to end it here. I want to thank you. I'm amazed nobody put dancer in there. But let's go out with this.
A Truco el bravo le dice, lo dejaron tirado, como efecto de los golpes, camina cachondeado.
Bye.